We've all have coworkers, and some Reddit stories have a really good story about them. So I'm gonna go over those stories and r/coworkers. Coworker found me on a dating app. I won't let it go. What do I do? I'm a female that works in a primarily male-dominated field. I truly love my job. It's probably the best one I've had by far. Here's the coworker issue. One of my coworkers found me on a dating app. Well, he said his brother found me and asked him if he worked with me. Due to my specification of the industry, I worked in slash my location. I wasn't working the day he made this discovery. Upon finding out I was on said dating app, he made it a point to let everyone know I was. Found it odd. Why should he or anyone else care? I then realized it was in a damn, she's desperate fashion. Not only is the workplace and field in general male dominated, but I am more than 20 years younger than the majority of my coworkers, with the exception of the guy who spread the info and a couple others. I didn't care initially. I presumed it would blow over, but indeed has not. He and a few others bring it up in a mocking or teasing way quite regularly. It really wasn't funny the first time. And it definitely wasn't the second, third, or fourth time. I want to highlight that the intention does not feel playful, but instead is delivered in a very demeaning way. I will occasionally get unsolicited advice on my appearance from the same coworker. I'm looking for advice on what I can do in this situation without turning it into an HR fiasco. I only plan to stay at this job until mid 2026. I want to make my next year enjoyable. What should I say next time he or another coworker brings it up? Something that will really embarrass them, perhaps? Any advice appreciated, thanks. Before we get to the update, from my own experience, I would say HR, even though you don't want it to be. I think you're not staying long, but this shouldn't happen to any future coworkers you have. Another one would be just you're not staying long. Mess with him a little bit. Find his profile. Or if he doesn't have one, just make a fake one. Just to mess with him. Make it like a funny little thing. Like you think it's funny. Right. Um Another one would simply just go to the coworker and be like, hey, really, really not appreciating this. Any way you can get other people or tell them, hey, I don't appreciate the way that you're doing that. If it doesn't stop, again, bring it up to HR. Simple yet effective means, because either they're going to get fired or they're going to get a back talk. Sometimes it'll backfire, but it is probably the best way to handle it. Update 1. Thank you all so much for the advice and overall validation. Currently at work and still mulling things over. Consider having a chat with said coworker if I see them today. I'm guessing. Let's go read some of the comments. Does your does your wife slash girlfriend know you're so interested in my dating life? That's a great way of doing that. If they do have a wife or girlfriend, or even if it was a woman also making fun of it, right? If they are married, how do they know, right? How do they figure it out? That you could just backhand their, nagging and use it in the same manner. Doesn't matter if it's a woman or if it's a man using a dating app. Hey, they're looking for people. Doesn't matter the age, okay? Um, yeah, that's a good response, right? And say it straight to them. Hmm. Yeah, I'm a big fan of what a weird thing to say out loud. Or yeah, like this person said, or I didn't get that joke. Could you explain it to me? Like using it as a way of like they have to explain it to you to make them seem worse as a human being is usually the best way. I know that sounds bad, right? But it works. Uh, now on to the next Reddit story. Coworker surprised 4D chess move didn't play out as expected. A coworker, Nancy, and I got hired the same week to join a team of 3 led by a GM. As soon as we sat down with our coworkers for the first time, Allie, the most senior member of the team, immediately let us know how horrible our boss is. How we have to watch out for ourselves and be aware of the hypocrisy and stupidity. She laid it on pretty thick, make it seem like we made the worst possible decision by getting hired. There was a moment of uh-oh between me and Nancy about what cluster truck of a job we landed ourselves in. Then we discovered that Allie does absolutely nothing all day. Since we have flexible hours, 7 to 10 to 3 to 6. She clocks in at 7, waits 3 hours doing absolutely nothing, then goes on a coffee break at, at 10. When her boss clocks in and doesn't return until 1, which coincides with our lunch hour. She then returns to do 1 to 2 hours of work and clocks out at 3. We have 4 major events we host throughout the year. Allie plans her vacations to coincide with it. Honestly, we commend her on sticking it to our boss and cheesing her way through work. Why break your back over someone who is clearly horrible? Our boss is a bit much sometimes, temperamental and moody, but not completely unmanageable. Then the annual evaluations came in, and Allie became hysterical. She's gotten ones across the board. Her bonus becomes critically impacted. She throws a fit, notifying the head of HR and letting anyone with a sympathetic ear to know the injustice that was committed. She tells us she's applying elsewhere, that she's done with this job. She goes from at least partially working to nothing at all. She comes to work to collect a paycheck, and that's it. The New Year's rolls around, and shockingly, she never got a job offer. And our first major event of the year is coming up. Like clockwork, she puts forth her vacation, but this time it gets rejected, thus ensuring another fit and cry over the injustices. Allie has already booked. Everything is paid for. Her husband got his time off approved, another trip to the head of HR. Allie gets to go on her trip, personally approved by HR. And she's smug upon her return. HR told her she's getting a new boss and gleefully tells us about how our boss is clearly going to be replaced. This didn't end up happening. Instead, HR tells us how our department will split into 2. They are looking to transfer half the team to the new department. Coincidentally, a different coworker is being let go during a round of layoffs. Allie thinks this is her moment. She signs up to transfer to the new department, and she is convinced this will make her boss fight for her. After all, it would only be me and Nancy, the 2 newest and most inexperienced members left. Obviously, our boss would fight tooth and nail to keep her and then have the department shrink down to just 2 people. Except our boss doesn't take the bait, and he personally approves the transfer. Allie's notified by HR via email. Another fit ensures our department was originally something like A and B debt. And now A and B are separated. Well, Allie, based on her entire career, on B and not A. She thinks A is entirely in a different field. It's not really. And that HR has condemned her to an early career death of stagnation, completely forgetting that she literally signed up for it in the first place. She goes down to HR again, who is no longer willing to hear her out. She comes crying to us, and we try to be sympathetic, but we have actual work to do. She ends up having a new GM for that department, and he's not so willing to accept the extended coffee and lunch breaks. He gets to work just as early as she does and makes sure to send her some work to do that keeps her busy, much to her horror. Wow. So, yeah, sounds like a somebody who thinks that she deserves everything or they deserve everything. All, however, doesn't seem like anything too crazy. You'll always meet someone like this. I've met a few. Few that I personally had to yell at as an AGM because they weren't doing anything. Makes sense. Yeah, and usually it never leads to this, right? Usually you don't keep them on. Usually you get them fired pretty quick, or they find out quicker, right? They don't. A boss doesn't just sit with it. But if you're a small team, it kind of makes sense. If she still does some work, they'll keep her on, but usually they get tossed pretty quick. But it happens. Reddit story number 3. Okay, let's read this one because it kind of sounds like this might be their fault, but could not be, right? I got called into HR for inappropriate dancing at the company holiday party. Still annoyed. Every year, my company hosts a big formal holiday party with a best dress competition. This year, I decided to go for it. I've been sewing my own clothing for a few years now, and occasionally do costumes for drag and burlesque shows. And working on the costumes, I've learned a lot of couture techniques in gown making. Lots of feathers and beads and sparkle in both communities. But I haven't had the chance to make myself something wearable using anything I had learned. The holiday party felt like the right time to make myself something beautiful to show it off. I ended up making a floor length red stained gown with a big bow in the back, matching opera gloves, and a sparkly white fox fur stole. It was significantly less glittery than initially planned, but once the base came together, I decided I liked the look of the stain. I'm guessing not Satan. Look of the stain undisturbed and left it alone. The dress was a big hit. It was glamorous. I felt beautiful in it. And people were shocked that I hadn't made it myself. I won best dressed overall. Every time someone won, they got to go out onto the dance floor and do a little fashion walk. Spin around, answer a couple questions, then go and sit down. When it was my turn to walk, I did a few things I've seen at burlesque shows, drag shows, and probably a few old Hollywood movies. I did this slow slide to slide with the wavy arms. I shrugged off the stole to better show off the bow and looked down over my shoulder. I think I did a 3-step turn at some point, nothing racy or inappropriate, in less than a minute long. Anyway, so I reported to HR. I got called in a few days after the party and told that my dancing had made people. I asked if there were multiple reports. They said there was only one. Uncomfortable. They gave me the work parties are still work speech and let me go. They didn't even really give me a chance to say anything. I'm so frustrated. The dress was work party appropriate. My walk was work party appropriate. And no one has said a single negative thing to my face. I'm still proud of myself and the dress, but it feels like majorly misplaced effort. What a cruddy way to start the break and end the work year. Before we go on the edit, I get it, right? I wanted to tear it down, but you still won. Don't look at that. Just ignore it. Nothing actually happened with HR. They just give you a little talking, right? Probably wasn't even marked down. That person that was there was probably at the party and enjoyed your dress. So there is no way to feel bad about this. It's just somebody was probably upset they didn't win. Now, edit. Oh wow, I did not expect the response this has gotten. I think I was still annoyed because I I hadn't really gotten to talk to anyone about it yet. Thank you for letting me vent and sharing your perspectives, HR stories, and humor. I feel a lot lighter just reading through these comments. I just want to clarify two things, since I think my mention of burlesque has rightfully made it sound like I brought my inner Jessica Rabbit to the stuffy work function. First, is that the moves I added to my walk are not specific to burlesque and can be found in virtually all forms of dance. I only mentioned burlesque and drag because that's where I learned about them. I'm not a dancer and never have been, and their functions on a stage. The sideways walk is used a lot in burlesque and drag because it's a really, really good way to show an audience your outfit without just doing a regular catwalk around the stage. Moving sideways keeps your torso so that the front of the outfit facing the audience and arms up, out on the hips keeps the outfit in full view. There are variations of this seen in things like musicals, ballroom dance when couples are entering the floor. And the wavy arms are, I think, inspired by ballet. Depending on how you move, it can be really graceful, very sexy, or kind of camp, like purse fit. I was I was trying to be graceful. Goes off the dress and make the glitter on the sole sparkle a little. Hence the arm waving. Second, almost everyone who walks each year does their best impression or a really campy imitation of a fashion model's catwalk. Some really swing their hips, and most people stop at the end of the runway and do the model hip hop, an over the shoulder look into the camera. Last year, the guy who won Best Dress showed up in a gold sequin suit and did a genuine ballroom. Paris is a burning ballroom, not waltz ballroom catwalk, and would have been very scandalous if a woman had done it. There's also time for actual dancing towards the end of the night, and there are definitely people every year who get a little loose. I think somebody did get called in for drunk twerking last year, but she was kind of a mess that whole month, so it might have been something else. I do understand that maybe my attempt at being graceful may have come off sexier than intended. I was blanking on the fact that the moves are not burlesque or drag specific. The gown itself not form fitting, it's a full skirt, and he felt that others swaying their hips down the runway was less work appropriate than ballerina arms. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was right. The comments seem split. I'll come up with something else if I get to walk again next year. Thanks again for the laughs and support. So she did leave out her own dancing, which I didn't even think about. It couldn't even been the runway part, but it seems like they reported that it was the runway part in the beginning. So yeah, like this person said, someone was jealous and rained on the parade. That's so lame. Your dress sounds amazing in it. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I'd be upset too if I had a really nice suit or I actually made my own suit, right? And went out and people really liked it, and someone got upset that they didn't win, and then they did that, right? I'd be upset too. But I think the factors of me winning it and me getting to show it off and everyone really loving it and appreciating it, I would think I would still be happy, right? I don't think the whole I think being stuck on something like that isn't as important as being stuck on what you did accomplish, right? Of course, that's me speaking. Of course, I might not do that myself, but yeah. Number four. All right. This one, I feel this one really hard. So let's do this. Colleague stole my position, and now I get to watch her struggle worse than I did in it. TLDR. Fellow teacher says I suck at my job and gets my new boss to agree with her. She gets my position and realizes things weren't as easy as she thought they were. I get to sit back and watch her struggle, even do half of what I was capable of. So that's what it's going to be about. Let's see, because I work in a school at the moment, so let's see if this is somewhat true. I have a feeling that this will be pretty truthful. I'm a teacher at a decently affluent public school. For the most part, I love my job. I made genuine friends among staff members, and the students make the hard work worth it. There are, of course, the negative parts of teaching. You always hear about low pay, grading on off hours, etc. But for the most part, the deal has been good. A few years back, I was recognized by my old boss as a potential leader in the building. He stressed to me that I was very data oriented and likable among my colleagues. I know my way around Google Sheets and Excel when it comes to collecting and organizing student data, and I'm really solid with parent communication. I was hesitant, but eventually I agreed and became a leader for a group of teachers and students at the school, in charge of organizing meetings, overall students' educational success, etc. That old boss who promoted me left, and I was stuck with a new boss who I didn't know well. Here's where things get messy. I have sensory processing disorder and mild hearing loss. It's a hard to explain, but sometimes I genuinely do not hear things correctly. Think if you said, I'm going to pick up Stacy, I might hear something like, I'm gone, just wait and see. This happens at least once a day and usually isn't that big of a deal. Fortunately, it isn't curable and I manage. In meetings with my new boss would push strategies that were based around focusing on students whose state test scores were almost passing. The idea was that you would focus on all students, but give extra attention to these guys. These initiatives were never written down, and I would find out later that was because the legality of such a thing is iffy at best. These ideas were shared with me. I would constantly ask the boss after the meeting to repeat herself and then check my notes to make sure I heard her correctly. I noticed at the time that she was passively frustrated that I would do this, even though I explained and I had a hearing disorder. Looking back, I wonder if she felt pressured knowing that we were doing wasn't kosher, and if I had a bad impression. Now to introduce the main character of the story, who I'll call Tenny, since she's the coach of the tennis team. Tenny is well liked by staff members for years of service towards our community in a particular area. I also liked Tenny a lot and figured she'd be a great team member. Tenny, however, like my boss, became repeatedly frustrated when I would miss things she would say to me, especially in crowded high school hallways. Sometimes she would even shout something to me as she walked past me. This led to many gaffes and mistakes. I should repeatedly to pause and make sure I got what she was saying, or just to email me. Nothing changed. There were at least five or six big moments that my hearing wasn't accommodated for when a simple email could have solved the problem. Just one example, my new boss came into the hallway to let us know that an assembly location was being changed. We were to take the students to a new area, not the old one. Of course, I heard a change, but I didn't hear the location. Penny was the only one nearby. I tapped my ear, which I usually do to indicate I didn't hear something, and asked where we are going. Penny quickly responded and walked away, and I once again didn't understand. Cue me and my students walking to the assembly 5 minutes late after walking them around the building in confusion. My new boss asked what happened, and I told her simply that I didn't hear her correctly. Weeks later, I was called into a meeting with my new boss, and she told me that I was going to lose my leader position due to inconsistency and disrespect toward my colleagues. I asked her which colleagues, and she told me that that was private. I asked her how I was disrespectful, and she said that sometimes you get frustrated when you say you can't hear things and tap your ear. I said that was the ASL sign for here, as in I can't hear you. She said that I should have communicated that. I said that I've asked for written communication constantly. She said I shouldn't always expect it. Wow. I knew it was a losing game, and any explanation I would provide would just be shot down. I loved the school and the community, and fighting new boss was only going to lead to more problems. I should have been surprised when a school-wide email went out that Tenny was getting the leader position. Tenny was praised by colleagues in reply alls, and was frustrating to say the least. I knew that she was the one who complained, and it was extremely better for me to see her rewarded for it. Cue the next year. Penny comes into my room and asks me for the student data sheets that I created with Google Sheets. I told her truthfully that even if I did share them with her, that there wasn't anything she could do with them. I brought her over to my computer and showed her the formulas I worked with and how I needed to adjust them every time a new student section, etc., was added to the roster. She then asked me if I could just continue updating these sheets outside of my leader position. I told her as professionally as possible that I would love to teach her how to do all of these things, but would need a stipend to do so. She asked if any of the other leaders were doing what I did. I said they were. I was the only one and always had been. I'm a bit ashamed I didn't take joy in seeing Tenny's face go cold when she realizes I wouldn't fold, and there was nothing she could do except cope with hours of data work per year or become proficient with Sheets and slash Excel. Some things I knew she wasn't going to do. And the real kicker, the parents. Parents of students, 90%, 99% of the time, are a joy to work with. I really mean that. It's so fun to work with the parents of the people I care the most about. But it's the 1% that make your life a living problem. I've overheard Teddy complaining about being on the phone with a 1% parent for 45 minutes, losing her entire grading time. A call like that would have taken me about 5 minutes tops, since I have the experience of knowing how to stop circular arguments and get the parent on my side for an issue. What was taking me minutes is taking Tenny sometimes hours. Yes, she's getting my 1.5K stipend now, but I no longer have to deal with the extra meetings, extra parent phone calls, miscommunication, etc. She's getting all the pain I got and more. I feel ashamed that I'm taking so much joy for this, but Penny made my life horrible in a place I otherwise love. Have fun, Tenny. I love that. All this happens at schools. You don't think that as a student or as someone who doesn't look at it. Hypocrisy in the whole work academic of an actual like office still happens in a school. People don't have to like you. Teachers don't have to like you. You're still coworkers at the end of the day, right? So all this can easily happen within a year, and you wouldn't expect it. Especially working in a school that it happens a lot, unfortunately. I see it all the time, and I've only been working there for half a year. Um, I don't get me wrong. I love everyone I work with. They're all great, but some of them I see that they don't need to work in that school, and usually I'm right. Usually they leave, but the ones I really like, sometimes they leave too. So I completely see this. I'm surprised she didn't try to find a new school, but she must love that school and the students, which I understand that. I love the place I work. I would never trade it off. Even in the future after schooling, I'm still going to be working in that school for a little while. So, you know, and she's right about the pay. These teachers, for what they go through, don't get paid enough. I will never stop saying. I even said that when I hated school. I'm like, teachers don't get paid squat. So just be mindful of that when you're with a teacher. Don't give them a hard time just because they did something to you. Just talk to them like a human being. There's no need to yell. There's no need to fuss. Just be there. You're in school. You don't got much else to worry about, my friend. Just work, do the work. Like one day you'll love it. If you focus on school, even in middle school, you will do well. Right? And you'll go on to do great things. Not saying that not focusing in school doesn't make you do great things, right? There are plenty of times that happens, but we'll give you an edge if you proceed to follow in school. Number 5. I have a picture of my coworker sister on my desk. This is more of a funny story than anything else. And I feel the need to clarify that my coworker finds it hilarious. I, 27 female, have a picture of my niece, 6 female to 5 in the picture. At Disney World on my desk at work, we recently switched from remote to in person. So a lot of us were meeting people we've worked with for years for the first time. My coworker, 31 male, asked me about the picture of my niece. I didn't think much of it until he started giggling. Turns out the Alice actor in the picture is his sister. I guess it's true what they say. It's a small world after all. 6. My coworker eats food she knows will make her sick and makes it everyone else's problem. My coworker got hired around 6 months ago and disclosed that she's diabetic and needs accommodation. Mainly that she needs to be allowed to take frequent bathroom breaks and may need time off for doctor's appointments. Sounds easy enough and fair. In reality, she probably spends 2 to 3 hours of her 8-hour shift in the bathroom, meaning she is constantly falling behind on her workload because she can't do 8 hours of work in 5 to 6 hours. I don't really care how much time my coworker spend in the bathroom, but I do care when they don't get their work done on time and when then my supervisor makes me do it instead. She frequently misses deadlines, and when that happens, it gets assigned to me on top of my already super high workload, and then I end up having to do overtime. And when I get assigned her work, I get told I need to drop everything and do it right away because it's past due. So then I have to drop all of my work to do her job. I'm complaining to my boss that this isn't fair, but he's terrified of lawsuits and doesn't want her to sue us, so we won't do anything or punish her for missing deadlines, other than saying, don't let it happen again. Spoiler alert, it always happens again. This is part of that infuriates me. She constantly eats food she probably shouldn't be eating as a diabetic. She comes in with McDonald's, Wendy's, donuts, Starbucks, Frappuccinos, etc. multiple times per week. Makes a joke like, hee hee hee, I shouldn't be eating this, but I can't help myself. And then a little bit of time goes by and suddenly she's nauseous or not feeling well. She either A, goes to the bathroom for 30 minutes, or B, she says she needs to go home because of her diabetes. As someone who also has a chronic illness that is greatly affected by what I eat, it pisses me off. So much as someone who also has a chronic illness that is greatly affected by what I eat, it pisses me off so much to watch this happen. I can't eat fast food. I gave up so many of my favorite foods due to my illness. And yes, I do eat them every so often, but never when I am at work because I know they will send me into a flare up. And on the rare occasions when I do something crazy, like have a glass of wine on a Saturday, alcohol is a big no no for me. If I'm dealing with a flare up on the Monday, I suffer through it and show up to work anyways because I know it's my own fault. I'm feeling like crap. I feel bad for her at first because I know how hard it is to maintain a job when you're chronically ill. But this woman does nothing to help herself and makes it everyone else's problem. So, I, not me, my family members have had diabetes. She's going through. Sounds like someone who's lazy. All right. And if it is really a problem, she better figure out how to make her job a remote job. All right. Because she can't be doing that. She has to be able to work all the time. Right. She has to be able to figure out how she can work at home if she ever has to spend a long time in the bathroom. Because that's how my family members did it. Oh no, I'm having a really hard time at work. I have to work from home, so they gave her that availability. If she's having a really hard time, she can work at home. And my ma will work like 12-hour shifts some days just because she can for a job that she definitely does not need to do that for, mind you. But it's because she has to, right? Sometimes you have to put in that extra effort just to continue doing a job that you either like or need. So this just sounds like laziness and wanting to have an excuse to eat this stuff and get the repercussions of it at job. I mean, hey, it's working for that person. Sucks for the poster, but sometimes people be bad. People be bad. Huh? 7. I found out who has been stealing my lunch. Since October, once every couple of weeks or so, my lunch has been going missing. I'm a hybrid worker and only in the office a couple days a week, if that. So it was still a pretty high rate of theft. I work in a small organization where everyone knows everyone, so it struck me as especially odd. This week I spotted the person eating my lunch. I confronted them. It was someone I knew but not well, and they insisted it was their lunch. After a minute of back and forth, they realized I had no incentive to make something like that up. We looked into it, and to make a long and tedious story short, they got an identical lunchbox as mine around October. Their wife packs their lunch, so they didn't recognize it as not being their food. They never know exactly what they're getting in their lunch. He apologized and said he'll buy me lunch for the next couple of weeks. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he was nice about it and dropped off a gift card anyways. Mystery solved. Wow, that's very cool. That's very nice of the person, right? And at least it wasn't something like, because I've seen it before, people eating people's lunches at work and people getting pissed, right? I get it. It was your lunch for the day, and you probably don't have the money to go just buy a lunch. And usually those people are like, boo hoo, it wasn't me when it was. Which seems like their job also, like this commenter said. Do you eat lunch at different times? Did you ask them why they didn't notice they're taking home a full lunchbox on days they ate your lunch? It seemed like this person actually cared, right? Because he didn't know. It seems they were also taking home different lunches. So in actuality, you know what he could have done? Just asked for his lunchbox that day. Like, but it seems like it all worked out. They even dropped off a gift card. So that's really good, nice of the person that was accidentally doing the theft. It didn't seem like he knew. Number 8. Hey, blank. This is blank. I resigned at so blank for blank. Today is my last day. I just wanted to say thanks for everything. It was great meeting you. I'm going to miss you. God bless. Hey, blank. I'm sorry to hear you go, but I am proud to hear you have gotten a great opportunity for your career. It was it was a pleasure to work with you and keep in touch. Thank you very much for all your hard work. We will miss you as well. And sending you blessings. Thank you so much. That really means a lot. I will absolutely keep in touch. Hey, Blank. Hope you're doing well. I've been meaning to catch up. We'll have to grab a drink or coffee sometime if you're free. Let me know if you're interested. I'm sorry. I have not saved your contact. Can you tell me who this is? Um, no, they might have just accidentally forgot to save it. Right, it happens. Um, you can just say who you are. If they say no or they say yes, then go for it. But it could also be creepy. Personally, I wouldn't just send it randomly unless you knew the person really well, like at your job. Like it was a good job coworker. I have a few of those. I still talk to them all the time. 8. New coworker just sped run herself to a termination. Have you saw worse? I work in a fairly corporate environment. In a mid-level job, we had a new hire who came in and, for some reason, made every single thing a massive drama despite just walking in the door. She would start to cry, claim that people are victimizing her without ever saying that they are doing. Wow. She would start to cry, claiming that people are victimizing her without ever saying what they are doing. Blatantly stole my work on a project and changed a few fields and fonts in a sheet and claimed that she had streamlined it and she was entitled to 50% credit. She would raise a formal grievance and about multiple people on the team for making her feel bad about messing something up, when in reality, it be it had to be addressed and corrected. She felt bad about it, and therefore she was the victim. I'm heavy against any workplace bullying, but this was far from that. The final straw seems to have come when she invited herself to an office on the other side of the country and made sexual advances to the senior director, who is married. She now she's now been fired for misconduct. Have you ever had a colleague like this who basically just crashes out? Oh boy, do I. Um, so let's go down a little tangent. Of course, everyone's gonna have a coworker like this once in their life. Doesn't matter who, right? I had a coworker who did some illegal substances behind another coworker and got fired from it. I've had a coworker who personally gave me really bad burns on my hands. Thank you. I mean, rephrase, not full burns, chemical burns. Still bad, very bad, but they healed, thankfully. So yeah, it's you have a coworker who gets fired because they do something. Stealing money, that's always a great part. Very quick streamline, stealing money, and two coworkers were fired because of it. Yeah, stuff like that. All right, let's do this one. Let's see if I get offended. I would say I'm not a man child. Maybe I am, judging by whether you guys say so. Things my man child coworker finds offensive. My man child coworker acts like a toddler. Here's a list of things that me or other coworkers have said or done that's offensive. Asked if he remembered a popular kid show from the 90s. Apparently, he didn't have cable, and I was calling him poor, and it made him insecure. Huh. Okay, we're just gonna go down one by one. That's crazy. Um, you're getting he's getting upset that you're calling him poor when he was a kid. Um, maybe they don't say that to your coworker. Just maybe. But if he's actually like full on like being all dramatic about it, I get it. He may have said it lightheartedly, but even then, shouldn't be calling him poor. Two, supervisor asked him to move his car on trash day because it was in the way of the dumpster. Something about it's his car, he could park wherever he wants to. That one's crazy. It's trash day. Shouldn't be parking in front of it. Just go find parking elsewhere for a little bit. It's not like it's gonna as soon as the trash has been taken out, just three. Ask what he brought for lunch. According to him, we are calling him fat or something. Okay, so the first one's the only one where it's like screaming, "Wow, what are you saying to him?" And now it's sounding like he's a little crazy, but it happens. Some people have insecurities. Ever since I lost the weight, I still see myself as uberly fat, and everyone's like, "Bro, you don't have to get skinnier. You're good." But everyone has that problem. But usually they keep to themselves and not like saying, "Are you calling me fat?" Like that's a little crazy. Four. Asked him if he looked at Shein to buy his girlfriend clothes after he complained about the prices at Torrid. Said she deserves better and was offended someone suggested she didn't. Um, that one, right? You should have the coworker experience, right? He shouldn't go, like he shouldn't get upset that someone said a like idea. I'm not gonna lie. I have a sister, right? Love Shein. Dude, his fit looks good. Most girls won't care. And if they do care, what you're getting them. So as long as it actually has meaning to you, they should care. Right? You don't have to go crazy. You just have to be a good person. Um, 5. Supervisor reminded him of a report deadline. That he was a micromanager. So, yeah, it could just be like workplace like disagreement, but kind of crazy. Just making sure that people did it and it's a supervisor that's part of their job. 6. Accidentally scared him when saying good morning, refused to speak to me the whole day. Um, Probably was just going through something. Happens. Doesn't mean he didn't want to talk. It just means he might have been going through something and your little good morning just shocked him awake. Some people just go through the day not really thinking. I've done it before. I've gotten scared of people just going, like, just saying, talking to me when I'm just walking. Right? It happens. That one I don't fully get, but I get it. These already done all these things that are questionable. But that one's a little weird, but it depends on how they went, right? 7. Walked behind him in the hallway, makes him feel followed, but we were going to the same place. No, okay, that one I get that feeling all the time, right? Like you'll be driving and someone will be going the same way as you, and you're like I had one that from when they pulled it behind me, right? We were basically from the same like spot, pulled out, followed me all the way home. By the way, this was a 10-minute drive, but we literally just lived really close. It was crazy. I was freaking out, turning off my music. I was like, oh my god. But like at the workplace, it's you're both working. Like you're gonna go to the same places. You both work there. It'd be different if she followed you all the way and you like walked into a closet and she followed you in, or like, or I should say they. Sorry, if they followed you and did that, right? That'd be different. That's just this week. Oh, every day it's a roll of a dice. If he'll be offended by something, he never goes to HR. Just gets snappy towards everyone if he'll speak to us at all. The only one I would go to HR about is the poor. Being called poor is kind of crazy. The rest of them is just, it's all on him. Like that's kind of crazy. That's all in 1 week. Wow, crazy. That's a little crazy. All in 1 week. The first one must have been like them making fun, right? But calling someone poor is a little crazy. The rest of it is crazy. It's in a week. Wow. Yeah, I like this commentator scare him every morning, so he won't talk to you. Sounds much more peaceful that way. He didn't even. Okay, that one's that. Okay, I get to scare him every morning. That's kind of funny. So he won't talk to you. That's a, but much more peaceful that way. It doesn't sound like most of the time he's doing anything wrong necessarily, right? It sounds like snippets throughout the week. But if it's every week and it's a roll of the dice, it does sound a little crazy. And number 9. Another was Secret Santa story. Edit. The year was 2007. It just so happened that I drew my boss, and my boss drew me. There was a $20 limit, so I decided to give her wow, her favorite brand and scent of fragrance oil she used in her office diffuser. The oil cost 15, so I put it in the cute box full of tinier origami stars and made and strung into a garland and for the back of her monitor. She loved decorating her office. I received a card, and inside was a note that said, "It's been a pleasure working with you this year. Now go clean out the storeroom." I smiled and pretended there was a big joke inside, but my boss laughing and smiling took my card and read it aloud to everyone. A few people laughed, and the HR lady, her best friend, asked if there was a gift. My boss said she'd take care of me. Taking care of me was letting her drive me through the Starbucks drive-through and having a coffee on her company credit card while she spent the 10-minute drive not apologizing and raving about her funny joke. I smiled and chuckled and sipped my pike place and held back tears. $15 isn't much, but every dollar counts, and I had decided to short my own mother a stocking stuffer of the Secret Santa. I found a new job a few months later and spent the last few months there avoiding my boss. The kicker. HR asked if I received a present from my boss. I told the truth and said she bought me a coffee on the company card. She said she was sorry and would look into it. Crickets. Meanwhile, my boss wanted her to look adorable. Her office smelled fragrant, and I hope she told her story of how she messed me over the holidays and got at least a small side eye. Wow, that's crazy. At least you got out of there. Like 2007, $50. $50 2007. Probably like $40 now, ish. Maybe even 50, but still. That's kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I think so, right? Oh, 32. So it's like probably would be set at like $30 now. $10 difference. Still. That's crazy. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Wow. You actually put thought into yours and she just there's what you get. And you got a Starbucks drink. Sounds like you liked your boss too, which is crazy. He just got you that. 10T. Repeat worker. All the texts are always juicy. Okay, I'm gonna have to block that out. We'll call him. Uh, since we'll see the R. We'll call him Roth. No, we'll call him Randall. Yep. Hi. How are you doing today? Whenever you're not busy, I would like to talk to you. Are you working today? Oh, Saturday, 6:14 p.m. Hi. How are you doing tonight? Whenever you're not busy, I would like to talk to you. Yesterday, 2:11 p.m. Are you working today? Yesterday, 10:03 p.m. The Pixies are performing at Hollywood Bowl on June 20, 2025. If I buy the tickets, will you go with me? Today, 12:25 a.m. Hollywood Palladium. Today, 2:34 p.m. Are you receiving my messages? I sent a few. Yes, I've been receiving your messages and calls. I'm not really comfortable communicating or hanging outside of work. Well, that sucks for me, I guess. I was going to say that I fell in love with you since the first day I met you. But if you don't feel the same, I guess it doesn't matter. And before I read the rest, everyone, that's where it should stop. It should say, it should have stopped at, well, that sucks for me, I guess. Or it should have been like, okay, this is how you should handle this. Okay. Even if you really care or you think you fell in love with the person, but if they do not feel the same at all in any way, you say, all right, sounds good. You get one of your buddies or something to go with you to whatever you bought. But don't buy a spontaneous thing because he probably already bought it, and we'll probably read the rest. And it should have just ended. Just saw that message, just be like, okay, understandable. But from what I see, it's going to be a bit. So, buckle in. He proceeded to say, And no, I'm not a creeper. I think it's insulting. I could understand if you were 13 and call someone a creeper, but you're a 23-year-old woman whose beautiful eyes I fell in love with every time you took off the glasses. I mean, I fell in love with you, them on. I'm just saying, when you took them off, my heart just melted, made you even more lovable. Okay, you go ahead and tell Nick to fire me because I'm harassing him. I was hoping this would be the best day of my life, but of course, because I'm the black sheep, it turned out to be the worst day of my life. Because now, not only do I not have you, but also I don't have a job. Oh, well, F me. 11. My coworker tried to sabotage my weekly reports and ended up getting themselves written up. I work in a small department of a mid sized institution. It's the sort of office where everyone knows exactly which desk drawer you keep your candy in and helps themselves sometimes. It's hard for anyone to be sneaky for long. I've been in this role for about 6 months and recently started noticing weird typos and mistakes showing up in our weekly client update reports. Reports that I handle personally. Normally, I'm pretty meticulous. So at first, I assumed I was just tired or losing focus. Then one morning, my supervisor asked for a quick chat. She pulled out a printed copy of that week's report, circled random nonsense lines in red, and asked me what was going on. It looked like I type entire sentences in wingdings. For context, it takes effort to deliberately switch to wingdings, and it's not something you just accidentally do. I was completely baffled. The files on my computer were perfect, and I had the version history to prove it. So I started double checking the final PDF after it left my hands. And guess what? The text was being changed after I submitted it, before it went out to clients. Some lines look like normal English from my end, but my time the PDF was emailed, there were random fonts, phrases repeated 4 times, and even a client name spelled completely backward. It's like someone wanted me to look incompetent. I told my supervisor and something weird was happening, and she agreed to keep it quiet and investigate. The next week, she set up a shared folder that tracked every single edit along with the user who made it. Sure enough, a few hours after I uploaded my final doc, my coworker Stephanie, my coworker Stephanie, opened the file under her login and started making those sabotage edits, highlighting entire sections and changing them to weird fonts, leaving them that way, and saving. HR got involved once we had the evidence. Turns out Stephanie had been telling some folks I was gunning for her position, and she decided to preemptively make me look bad. Joke's on her, though. She got written up for tampering with my work product, and I heard she's now on a performance improvement plan. Personally, I think she should have been fired on the spot. She's offered me a flustered apology in the break room, saying she was just stressed and insecure. Oh, saying she was stressed and insecure. I'm still a little uneasy around her because to me, messing with someone's work is beyond petty, especially if it risks damaging our reputation with clients. Anyway, that's the drama. I never expected to become a detective at my own job, but at least we put an end to the sabotage. Now I'm double checking all my files in that shared folder because once trust is gone, it's tough to get back. That's crazy. Like, in most documents, right, that you make, or any that you share, it is easy to see when someone messes with it through the edit history, but it depends on what you're using. But like their boss did, they created one where it's all shared edits, which you do have to go set that on in Word and stuff. Usually it's not automatically turned on. But that's crazy. Like, that's insane to do to your coworker. Just because you think that way. Like, bro, just do better. I don't know. Like, don't go out of your way to just Sabotage someone. That's crazy. 12. It sounds fucking hilarious. Oh, it sounds really funny. My coworker pretended to be British for 3 years and forgot which accent they were using. This is one of those things I wouldn't believe if I didn't witness it myself. We hired this guy a few years ago. Let's call him Dan. On his first day, we came in this very proper London accent, like textbook BBC News reader vibes. People asked where he was from, and he casually said, "Oh, just outside of London." Cool, whatever. Fast forward 3 years, Dan was built a whole personality around being the British guy. He'd say things like, "Fancy a cuppa?" and "Bloody hell." Unironically, people asked him British stuff all the time, and he'd always have answers. Some of it felt off, but nothing too wild. And last week, in the middle of a completely normal conversation, he just switched, not even slightly, fully American accent. And goes, "Wait, what just happened to your accent?" And Dan just froze like he got hit with the blue screen of death. Tried to backpedal. "Oh, I've been here so long it slips sometimes." But it was too late. The jig was up. Turns out another coworker found his old Facebook, and he's from frickin' Indiana. Never been to the UK. Now HR is involved because apparently someone complained he was a falsifying identity. Don't even know what to make of this. Who commits to an accent for 3 years at a corporate job? Have y'all ever seen someone lie that deep just to be more interesting at work? Man, that sounds hilarious. Hilarious. Like, that is, I find that hilarious. Absolutely funny that he committed for 30 years and slipped. 13. Former colleague accidentally reports herself. I am a travel agent with 20 plus years of experience. Something happened in my life which meant I had to relocate to a city nearly 900 miles away. So I found myself working for a small corporate travel agency. First few days went okay. However, there was an employee there who took an instant dislike to me. She was this miserable 65-old woman. She went out of her way to make my life misery. She would constantly criticize my work. If I was 20 seconds late from making tea or lunch, she would report me. She would go through my emails. It was joint office email. Listen to my calls and would scuttle off and report me to the owner. She would say numerous times a day, "Why don't I go to so and so company? I hear they are hiring," etc. She, the thing is, actually started causing me to make mistakes. I was double guessing everything every now and then, booking a wrong time on a flight or wrong room type. Nothing that can be fixed, but giving her ammunition. The stress was awful. Thing is, she made mistakes, lots of them, and we never said anything. She was the owner's mate. Oh, one day, a client rung in complaining the name was wrong on his flight. Unfortunately, it happened to a VIP client of a huge contract we had just gotten. Not an issue. I rung the airline, corrected the name. Twatface McGee, the colleague, happened to sit at her desk as I was ending the call. She got the gist of the conversation. It was an error in her name for a big client, etc. She had, she was up like a shot, got the owner from her office and shouted at me in front of everyone. The owner I had everyone and the owner. I had effed up a booking again. Not believing my luck, I said, "Actually, Maggie, I was sorting out the flight for the VIP client that you booked and got their name wrong. But don't worry, it's fixed now." Her face was a picture. She was literally speechless. The owner was actually heaved off, too. With her, said something like, "For God's sakes, We can't afford to make stupid mistakes like this. I got to see her sit with a face like a slapped arse all afternoon, which was amusing anyway. Crazy. Crazy, crazy. But that's all the time I got for r/slash coworker stories. We will definitely be back if y'all enjoy this. I love these. This was awesome. Hearing all these stories and getting to relate. That's crazy though. Reporting yourself because you made the mistake and she fixed it, or they fixed it is crazy. I cannot believe that. That's awesome. Good for that. Good for that person.